Hello, and welcome to a guide on how to build Space Marines. Today, we will cover how to build Space Marines, the new Airborne Space Marines, and a Airborne Space Marines combat test. So to start off with, we're going to do the research that is required. First thing that is required is the paratroopers, the first tech you can get in 1936. Second is the Engineer Company 1939, and we need it for the flamethrower and the heavy flame tank company. Next thing we need is the first level of engine, and we're going to need the heavy tank hull and as much armor as you can get in 1936. Next, we're going to build the tank in question. So to do this, we're going to start off with a diesel engine. We're going to give it cast armor because we need to have the most armor possible in this tank. We're going to give it torsion bar for increased reliability. We're going to give it a flamethrower as a main armament. We are going with a light turret that is a light fixed structure because of the increased reliability and the really low production cost. Next, we're going to equip sloped armor, which is going to increase our armor by another 20%. We are then going to equip armored skirts, which will give us an increase in armor. We're going to equip wet storage or stowage, depending on how you want to say it, which will give us an increase in reliability of 15%. And then we're going to put a dozer blade on here for more entrenchment, because I think it's hilarious that tanks can now give you ridiculous entrenchment. We're going to spike the armor as high as possible, and we're going to put the engine to get this tank to go to 4 kilometers an hour. Okay, now that this design is saved, and it is the support company of the flame tank, we're going to save it, we're going to produce it. It is being produced right here. We are then going to add onto any infantry unit possible. This works on pretty much everything, including cavalry. We're going to add the heavy flame tank company. The support company will give your infantry 17.4 armor. What does this mean? As you can clearly see, they can't pierce themselves, which means they get the bonus that is displayed on your screen right now. This is how you make the more efficient Space Marines now. If that is all that is required on how to build Space Marines, then you may have a good day, because now we're going to go on how to do a more in-depth version of this, and then the Airborne Space Marines, which are been added. Okay. So the more in-depth explanation here is what's happening is the heavy tank company is the only support company in the game that affects stats the way it does. And what do I mean by this? Let's go, for example, if we have this tank brigade, right? It can go 8.2 kilometers an hour. If you add a tank company, a flame tank company, and that tank can only go 4 kilometers an hour, which is what our heavy flame tank can do, which is 4 kilometers, it will slow the entire division down. This is the only support company in the game that does this. Why it does this, I have absolutely no idea. No idea possible. But it is also the only company that gives an armor, like a massive armor increase to anything that it is attached to. This is why you can add them to any infantry unit, cav unit, whatever you really feel like, even motorized, and give them a big armor boost. Now, the old way to build Space Marines back in the day was to build heavy tanks and just attach them and give them a massive armor boost. This still works. This is perfectly viable. It just costs you a lot more heavy tanks, whereas the company doesn't. That's the gist of it. Now we're going to do something that was added in the recent update. So, part 2, Airborne Space Marines. Yes, they have done it finally. So in this example, we're going to use a 30 combat width. You can do whatever combat width you want. That's completely up to you. Make it to your dream's content. But basically, if we add a flame tank company to an airborne unit, it is 1, still airdroppable, and it gets the armor boost. This is a massive buff to paratroopers, because paratroopers can only have paratroopers in their unit. to be airdroppable. They can have absolutely no other battalion in them besides paratroopers. So what you've done is basically gave them armor, which means they get the bonus on your screen right now. They get this for every combat against other infantry. Now, we can push this further. So, I have 2 templates here, but before we go over them, we're going to go over what doctrine to take. So, if you go down Superior Firepower, Integrated Support Companies, and you go down Shock and Awe to give yourself the most soft attack possible, and then you go down the artillery line, and you get the rocket artillery, you can make the template I'm about to explain to you. But if you keep going down this line, you can make even better Space Marines, which is just, in fact, ridiculous. You can also increase their org, and a whole bunch of other factors. And for the British, we have David Sterling that gives them even more attack. So, if you go over the templates now, you can see that they're called Chad Space Marine Attack and Defense. So the attack version is, again, 30 combat width, 30 paratroopers, heavy flame tank company, the support artillery, support rocket artillery, logistics, and an armored recon company. What we're doing here is the recon is making our units move faster. That is the main difference between the defense and the attack, is the recon. We have the armor bonus, and we're going to do a lot more soft attack than 276, I guarantee you, with all the buffs. But this is the one I would use for an attack landing. If you want the landings to be a defensive holding, I would swap out the armored recon company for an engineer company to give yourself even more entrenchment, because the tanks already give you entrenchment, which is ridiculous. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're going to go to part 3. Okay, so part 3, the combat test. We're going to attack France as England. I know, it's fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to do a paradrop out of it. So, with our Space Marines, we're going to drop into France. The order has already been set up, and we have the 3 different versions that I talked about previously. So we're going to execute the drop. The units have been parachuted in. We're going to spread them out now. And we're going to change our transports to be resupply, so that we never run out of supply. Which is hilarious. Okay, so if we look on the combats right now, we can see that the units cannot be pierced. They cannot be pierced at all, which is why they are Space Marines. This gives them a massive combat advantage against literally anybody that they fight against. So right now we're losing because we basically have no order. But the Space Marine bonus is still happening. And then this one is the actual cheap one. This isn't even the good one. So if we attack with the attack one, this is the attack version right here. If we slam into the city, you can see that we are absolutely destroying them. Their attacks are basically halved, and our units are good to go. And we are being air resupplied from the top. And continuously getting supply. So, that's how you build Space Marines. And now you have airdroppable Space Marines, which is going to be this whole new different thing that everybody does. It's going to be hilarious. Okay. So, if you found this guide helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I do read the comments. I do reply to all of them as fast as I can. But if you would like me to help you out with specific questions, there's a Discord link in the bottom of the description. Go check that out. I can answer questions there faster than I can on YouTube. With that, have a nice day.